know you don't.
Ain't no mystery, man.
I know you don't.
Man,
I know you don't. I know you don't.
So King Harris's legal mess just hit rock bottom after Tiny hit T.I. with divorce papers. She couldn't take it anymore, especially after T.I. turned his back on King following that wild arrest. The drama is so thick right now that it feels like the whole family's about to explode. What's even crazier is that T.I. ain't even fighting for the marriage or trying to fix things. He's just letting it all fall apart, and now everyone in that household is pointing fingers. Tiny is blaming T.I., T.I. is blaming King, and King is blaming the world. Nobody wants to take the fall, and the tension is eating the family alive. People are whispering, who's really at fault here? The parents who spoiled King with everything he could ever want, or King himself for tossing it all away just to chase some wannabe gangster life? On the outside, Tiny and T.I. splitting up might seem shocking.
Think I ain't spoke to my son. Think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas. He's going to prison.
They've been ride or die for decades, surviving scandal after scandal and still standing strong. But insiders are saying those cracks in their marriage had been showing for years, and the real breaking point came in October 2024, right after King's reckless arrest dragged the entire family into the spotlight. And the arrest? It was a circus! King rolled out of a gas station in his flashy BMW, driving like he owned the streets, when he almost smashed into a cop car. The timing couldn't have been worse, because the second those officers pulled him over, things went from bad to catastrophic. They leaned in and instantly caught the smell of weed pouring out of the car, busted on the spot. Then the cops spotted it, a gun stuffed right into King's waistband. At that point, it was already a wrap for him. They yanked the weapon, slapped the cuffs on him. But what really sent the whole situation spiraling was when they ran his name through the system. That's when the bomb dropped. An outstanding warrant all the way back from 2022. Overspeeding, driving on a suspended license, and a DUI, stacked charges just waiting to catch up to him.
I need you to step out the vehicle.
What you want to do? You want to take my gun off my head?
Yes, sir.
There's one in the head.
Does your buddy have one as well?
What's the guns in here?
All right, just hang tight right here for me. Let me clear this. I don't want any accidental fires.
There's no safety. You got to take the
There's no safety.
Take the
Okay.
clip out.
Well, I'm not gonna mess around with that too much. I'm just set this down right here. Dude, step out for me. Yes, sir. Place your hands behind your back for me. All right, right now you're just being detained. You're not under arrest. I'm gonna be at the church. All right, I appreciate you being cool, man. We're just gonna take a look at this information, make sure it's valid.
I ain't sure this.
Just take the step to the side for me.
Truth? King could have walked away with a lighter situation that day if he had just stayed cool. But nah, his past came roaring back, and once that arrest footage leaked online, the internet ripped him apart without mercy. The video told it all. King finally realized he'd crossed that invisible line. For once, he wasn't trying to wild out, wasn't putting on a show. He looked like a kid who knew he was in deep trouble. In that 30-minute clip, you could see the weight in his eyes, like he understood the only way to make it better was to cooperate. And for someone like King, that's a whole new level of self-control. We've all seen him showing out in public, cussing people out, acting untouchable, but this time, the energy was completely flipped. Even the arresting officer seemed shocked at how calm King stayed through the chaos. But that didn't stop the process. He was still hauled to DeKalb County Jail before eventually being transferred over to Pickens County once the old warrant got recalled. One fan didn't hold back, calling him a trust fund prison punk, and the internet ate it up. That jab racked up likes because people thought it was hilarious. Another blasted him saying, he thinks his parents' money can save him, yet he wants to act like he comes from nothing. The online dragging was relentless, but the scandal didn't just crush King. It tore straight through his parents' marriage like a wrecking ball. Ty tried to play the role of the heartbroken father in public, but behind closed doors, Tiny wasn't buying it. She was furious, and she came with proof. In her divorce filings, she flat out listed King's downward spiral as the last straw, the final reason she was walking away. And shockingly, T.I. didn't fight back. He didn't beg. He didn't try to hold the family together. Instead, he basically washed his hands of the whole mess, saying he had already done his duty as a father and that King's downfall was on King alone. As cold as that sounds, there's history behind it. Back in 2022, when King first started going viral for his wild antics, T.I. had already tried to step in. He went online practically begging his son to slow down.
Hitting me and giving me my comments, telling me what to tell King, okay? I know my son. Think I ain't spoke to my son? Think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas, his going to prison. If you got to keep this up, they're going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Can't nobody stop it but him. You know what I mean? I've already had the conversation. I've already made my peace with it. Because I know that energy. I was that energy. I know exactly how it's gonna turn out.
He warned King he was headed down a dangerous road and that if he didn't check himself, jail was waiting around the corner. And T.I. wasn't just preaching for clout. He said he had already been warning Tiny and even King's grandmother, telling them they all needed to keep a close eye on him before it was too late. And let's be real, T.I. knew what he was talking about. This was a man who had already done time, who knew exactly what the system could do to a young man living reckless. His warnings weren't empty. They were coming from scars, from real life. But still, King ignored every sign, brushing it off like it was nothing, and now the family is living with the consequences. But Tiny wasn't buying T.I.'s excuses, not for a second. Instead, she flipped it and used his own history against him in the divorce. She argued that T.I. had failed as a father, claiming that if he had been more present and hands-on with King, their son wouldn't have drifted so far into the streets. And honestly, she had a point. T.I.'s record speaks for itself. He was in and out of prison even before King was born. Tiny found out she was pregnant while T.I. was locked up, and by the time he finally came home for good, King was already used to growing up without his dad. And when T.I. was around, the impact wasn't much better, because allegedly, he sent King off to live with his grandmother most of the time. King himself admitted that even though his parents had money, he didn't feel rich. He grew up with his grandma, not in the big fancy house you saw on TV. In fact, he revealed the only times he was really allowed at his parents' place was when the cameras were rolling for their reality show. Imagine that, only being welcomed into your own family home when the spotlight was on. With a setup like that, it's no wonder King went searching for attention outside. And every time he acted out, he pushed himself closer to a prison cell. One moment that really showed just how out of control things had gotten, that infamous Waffle House meltdown in 2022, it all started over something petty, a messed up food order. One of the workers added pickles to King's meal when he specifically said no pickles. And instead of brushing it off like a minor mistake, King completely lost it, turning a fast food stop into a full-on scene.
Stop talking to me. This ain't your restaurant. This ain't your restaurant. Everything you make, I can pull out my pocket right now. I ain't tripping on you. I ain't tripping. Get the hell out of my face. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. Who the hell is he? What's your name? What's your name? My name King. You know it and your mama know it. Tell your mama Happy Mother's Day. Tell your mama Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. That file show. Come back. What? On game what? On game what? Come here. Come here. I'll show you what I do. Come here. I'll show you what I do. Come here. Come here.
That's all it took. One wrong food order, and King snapped into a full-blown screaming match with the Waffle House worker. And instead of letting the moment die, he pulled out his phone, filmed the whole messy altercation, and blasted it on social media. But the move backfired big time. Instead of looking like some tough guy, he came off like a spoiled kid throwing a tantrum, and people started side-eyeing T.I. for letting his son run so wild. So when T.I. later dropped that video warning King about his reckless choices, Tiny was heated. She felt like all that fatherly discipline should have happened years ago, not after their son had already crashed out in front of the world. For a moment, it seemed like things between them cooled down, but Tia's disappointment in King was way too deep to stay hidden. And it didn't take long before it exploded in public again, this time during an Atlanta Falcons game. That's where King and T.I. got into it heavy, starting with an argument that turned physical in front of everyone. The drama kicked off after King claimed he didn't grow up privileged, which instantly pushed T.I.'s buttons. He wasn't about to let that slide and stepped in, reminding King that he literally had a silver spoon in his mouth growing up.
To make him look better, he said it, he know not true. Silver spoon, I ain't never ate with that day a day in my life.
Nigga, you did have to school.
Look, Tip used to have to come to my grandma's house because I'm getting in the fight.
You cried like a baby to go to your grandma's house.
Every day.
You used to hold your breath.
Every day.
I know you. You capping. I know you. I know you. I know you.
Shut up. Shut up.
I know you.
Ain't no mystery about here.
I know you though. I know you though.
Shut up.
I know you though. I know you. What's wrong with y'all? Why y'all doing that to me? Y'all know me. You know I stand on business.
But King wasn't trying to hear it. He clapped back, and before anyone could blink, fists were flying between father and son. The clip that surfaced from that day shocked everybody, because it didn't look like T.I. was holding back just because this was his child. The fight looked raw, ugly, and way too close to crossing the line. Like T.I. was about to really put hands on King in a way nobody expected. The Falcons game fight was the final straw that sent shockwaves through Atlanta. Clips of T.I. and King throwing hands spread like wildfire across every platform, and fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. A father and son brawling in public like sworn enemies. Comment sections turned into a war zone, with some people blasting T.I. for crossing the line, while others dragged King for disrespecting his own dad in front of the world. Tiny, though? She was done. Watching her husband and her son square up like street rivals only added more fuel to her divorce case. She told close friends that this wasn't just family drama anymore. This was generational damage playing out in real time. Tiny pointed to the fight as proof that T.I. had failed to guide King, and instead of correcting him as a boy, he waited until the cameras were rolling and fists were flying. But what really shook people was how unapologetic King was afterward. Instead of hiding from the backlash, he doubled down online, bragging about standing his ground and even mocking folks who told him to humble himself. He acted like the whole showdown made him look stronger, when in reality, it just made the family look more broken than ever. And while King was puffing his chest, T.I. was going the opposite route. He started dropping cryptic posts talking about betrayal, loyalty, and how sometimes blood don't mean family. Fans quickly connected the dots, realizing he was aiming those words straight at his own son. Once the fight footage hit every blog, the industry couldn't stay quiet. Rappers, podcasters, and gossip pages all jumped in with their 2 cents, turning the Harris family meltdown into front-page chaos. Some artists sided with T.I., saying a father has the right to check his son when he's out of line. Others dragged him for throwing blows instead of guidance, accusing him of letting years of bad parenting explode in public.
So motherfucking 12 pull up and they say, hey, who do you belong to? Who raised their hand? Somebody got to raise their hand. I've been seeing him around too here a lot. You gonna raise your own hand? I've been seeing him around too. Huh? Well, when you got drugs, it ain't like. Y'all got drugs around those legal guns. That called, it's not possession of a firearm and commission of a crime, sir. That is a felony. Yeah. Thank you.
Bloggers had a field day too, spinning headlines like King Harris from rap royalty to hood horror story, and Tiny finally done with T.I. after Falcons game disaster. Overnight, the Harris name went from hip-hop power couple status to a circus act that everybody was tuning in to watch. And King? He didn't help himself at all. Instead of laying low, he kept fanning the flames, hopping on live to clown people calling him spoiled. He bragged about standing on business against his own father, even saying most kids his age wouldn't have the guts to do it. That only gave critics more ammo, with fans blasting him as privileged but pretending broke, and saying he was chasing clout at the cost of his family's legacy. Meanwhile, Tiny was making strategic moves of her own. Sources close to her claimed she started meeting with lawyers non-stop, pushing for full separation not just from T.I., but from the messy empire they built together. She was ready to carve out her own lane, leaving behind the chaos that had turned their marriage into a public soap opera. By this point, the Harris family wasn't just dealing with private issues, it had turned into a national spectacle. Every misstep, every post, every argument was being dissected, and the whole world was watching to see which way the family would crack next. The clip racked up thousands of likes within hours of hitting the internet, with people cheering T.I. on for finally checking King. Some fans even said he should have busted his behind, discipline that's overdue. Others compared it to an overdue library book, saying if you don't deal with a problem early, it'll eventually turn on you. Comments flooded in like, King been out of control, pray for that family. But while the internet praised T.I., Tiny was furious. She wasn't feeling the public humiliation one bit, and she especially wasn't ready for what came next. When she got home, she discovered that T.I. had gone a step further. He kicked King out of the house, telling him to figure out how to survive on his own. To Tiny, that wasn't tough love. It was going too far. And that decision cracked their marriage beyond repair, becoming one of the final pushes that made her cut T.I. off for good. And when she filed those divorce papers, she didn't hold back. Tiny laid it all out, dragging up not just King's drama, but also T.Y.'s own history, his cheating, his violent past, and the years she silently endured watching him step out on their marriage. She claimed he'd promised change, but only delivered lies. And by the time King's spiral exploded in public, Tiny wasn't just mad at her son. She was staring at her husband and realizing the ugly cycle had never been broken. The part that truly shattered Tiny was the reflection she saw. King wasn't paving a new path. He was retracing his father's exact blueprint. The jail stints, the reckless behavior, the so-called tough guy reputation that once built T.Y.'s name was now the same road King was crashing straight into. And that's exactly why those divorce papers finally hit the table. What makes it even wilder is how desperate King seems for his father's approval. Like every stunt he pulls is just to get T.I. to notice him. Think about it. He's always flexing guns on camera, acting reckless. And some folks online even claim that after his arrest footage went viral, King might have walked into that whole situation on purpose. They said he wanted that mugshot, that jail stamp, to prove he was real and finally lock in the street cred he's been chasing for years. Others swore this was King's way of finally proving himself as rugged, earning the title he's been dying to wear. But plenty of people believe it's deeper, that every meltdown, every viral moment is nothing more than a cry for attention and respect from the one man he can't seem to please, his own father. And it's not like we haven't seen this dynamic before. Remember that moment when T.I. and Boozy had to check their sons on camera? King and Boozy's boy, Tootie Raw, were supposed to be filming a music video, but instead they were busy flashing guns like they were holed up in a trap house. That's when the dad stepped in and the vibe switched quick. You could hear the disappointment dripping from T.Y.'s voice as he pulled King aside, grilling him about why he was so obsessed with looking tough instead of focusing on the music, or even the girls around. It wasn't playful either. It turned into a full-on lecture. I made it crystal clear that one wrong move with those guns or getting caught up with the wrong stuff was all it would take to ruin their lives in an instant. And Boozy backed him up. Neither of them were joking in that moment. You could see it on their faces. This was life or death talk. On the surface, it looked like T.I. was finally trying to drill some sense into his son, warning King that the reckless path he was on would only end behind bars. But when Tiny caught wind of the whole situation, she wasn't impressed at all. She was actually furious at T.I. for blasting their son's business out in public like that. And it wasn't because she supported King flexing guns or acting like a gangster. It was because in her eyes, T.I. was years too late. Tiny snapped back, pointing out that King was only mirroring what he'd seen his father do his entire life. The street image, the jail talk, the tough guy persona, that wasn't King inventing something new, that was King copying the blueprint T.I. had already laid down. And then, just when things were already messy enough, the drama went nuclear. King's baby mama drama hit the headlines. T.I. casually revealed on a podcast that he was about to become a grandfather again, thanks to King stepping into fatherhood. But instead of being proud, Tiny was blindsided and furious. To her, it sounded like T.I. was endorsing their son's reckless behavior instead of checking him for it. And the situation was even weirder than it sounded. Rumors started swirling about King's baby mama, Big Nana. People whispered that she was way older than King, and some even claimed she only linked up with him to secure a bag. But King didn't care one bit. He was hyped.
People hit me up like, King, I know you tired, you ain't getting no sleep. And the truth be told, before this little I ain't been getting no sleep, you know what I'm saying? I just been outside working, lifestyle, lifestyle just lifing, you know what I'm saying? And, but now I'm damn sure not getting no sleep. This up every morning, and then around the morning time, he like to do that little live concert I be doing with him. And, he like to walk around the house. So
he embraced the news with open arms, proudly stepping into the father role like it was the crown he'd been waiting for. King even put his feelings into music, dropping a track called Dear Son where he rapped about stepping up as a dad. He captioned the post with, November 5th, 8:09 a.m., welcome King Jr., time to take over. For a second, it really looked like King was ready to change his life around, like fatherhood was finally forcing him to slow down and grow up. For Tiny, that moment felt like a blessing. She saw her son being a present father, correcting the very mistakes his own dad had made when he was a baby. She thought maybe, just maybe, this was the turning point that would bring some peace to their broken family. But of course, the timing couldn't have been worse. While King was online proudly playing the role of doting dad, his arrest video was still making the rounds everywhere, reminding the world that despite the baby talk, he was still knee-deep in legal trouble. The double image, proud father on one side, reckless headline on the other, was impossible to ignore. I tried to stand by him, but that cloud of disappointment was written all over his face. And for Tiny, that cut deeper than anything else. She might have forgiven the cheating, she might have looked past the scandals, but watching her husband be so ashamed of their son that he didn't even want to share the same roof with him, that broke her completely. So when those divorce papers landed, nobody was shocked. It was the final blow to a marriage that had been cracked for years. Tiny is done. She's not hiding, not covering, not protecting the image anymore. The only real question left now is, what does T.I. do next? Because if he stays silent with Tiny the same way he did with King, this family might already be finished. So what do you think? Is this the end of the Harris dynasty, or can they somehow pull it together? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you on the next one.